Welcome back to the Motor Index, folks. And wow, wow, wow. What a race and what a finish at Daytona. Ryan Blaney, are you kidding me? That was insanity in the final few laps there. Blaney goes from 13th to first in the final two laps to win at Daytona in the next gen era. Are you kidding? That's unbelievable. I can't believe that race as a whole was nuts. That race was bonkers. And obviously we're going to get into everything that happened, or at least as much as we can, because so much happened. But my god, that final run there, Blaney, are you kidding? Wow. So Ryan Blaney gets his second win of the season. Uh, oh my god, I mean I don't even know where to start because of how much just chaos happened tonight. But this race was mental. Um, Blaney obviously starts on pole, but isn't really towards the front of the field for a lot of this race. I mean, yeah, for a lot of the first stage, he was able to maintain track position, but he ends up losing stage one there to Kyle Larson. That would have been nice for him to get an extra stage point or extra playoff point, if you will, on top of what he got tonight, which that's another aspect to why this win's so big. There's so many aspects to why this win's big. Um, but yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. Heartbreaker. Heartbreaker and a half for countless cars up there in the top 10 racing there for a win. Justin Haley, Eric Jones, Cole Custer, who just miraculously is leading this high line in the final few laps, just charging to the front. I, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch all this because the way that all developed was insane. Who else? Suarez. I mean, we're gonna get into the whole top 10 and everything and get into specifics, but my God, you had Kyle Larson up there, who he had a crazy night too. So we got so much stuff to get into, but I guess let's just kind of try to break this down in chronological order the best we can. By the way, my throat's a little dry. I'm gonna have to probably take some sips of water. But so like I said, first stage, there was a lot of chaos in stage one. That stage one was ridiculously long. I don't know exactly the time length. It felt like an hour and a half, just to get through stage one. You had the big one in stage one, where Larson was in front of or behind Bubba Wallace. Kind of just a weird arrow situation there, and with you had Logano coming. It was like it was, I don't know if it's like a 3 or 4 wide situation, but you had Logano coming up on the inside, and another car. Was it Stenhouse or was it Cindric? I'm forgetting. It was one of those cars coming on that outside lane, and it just ended up getting into complete chaos. Cindric hit the wall really, really hard. So not good there. 12 cars total involved in that wreck. I believe the ones that DNF'd in that wreck were, oh, no, BJ McLeod. I have BJ McLeod written here. BJ McLeod ended up wrecking out later in this race. But in that wreck, who got finished was Stenhouse, Bowman, Wallace, Gregson, Cindric, and Herbst. So 6 cars DNF from that wreck alone, though 12 were involved. Like I'm thinking, I don't know if they counted Kyle Larson involved because he was in that. Joey Logano was technically involved. I think Denny Hamlin might have had some damage from that crash. So yeah, it was that. There's a lot going on there. Yeah, as far as the rest of stage one, you had who wrecked initially at the beginning. I'm forgetting. Somebody wrecked in the beginning and irrelevant, but like I said, as we got this stage going, and then eventually it came down to Ryan Blaney and Kyle Larson at the end of stage one. That potentially could be a huge playoff point as we progress through the playoffs. I looked at a point I thought Larson might win this race, which we'll get into at the end of this. But yeah, so Larson wins stage one. Stage two begins, and I'm trying to remember exactly kind of what goes down here. Oh man, so much happened. This race was so nuts that there's points in this race I'm like forgetting what even transpired because of how crazy it got. Um, I think because of the strategy and how things played out, there were some weird things with fuel going on. Like I think that's why some guys were able to, lay back a little bit and then kind of make that hard charge at the end was partially to that, or I don't know. There was some weird fuel stuff going on at the beginning of this race. And I think that's kind of what got things jumbled up. Some people were staying out, some people were not. Some people were taking two tires, no tires. It was a complete mess as far as the strategy was concerned. But I think the biggest compliment I can give this race as a whole was that apart from the DNF cars, it felt like every driver who finished the race, with apart from maybe like Kyle Busch, who I think did end up finishing the race, but like a bunch of laps down, it felt like every guy who finished on the lead lap had a chance to win this race at one point or another. Obviously, by crunch time, that's when it really matters, but like I swear I saw almost every guy in the field running at the front at one point, which I think that's the biggest compliment I can give this race. Another big thing about this, tires were wearing. So, and I saw online, people are speculating, Daytona starting to wear a little bit as far as that track surface is concerned. That's been the thing that people have kind of mentioned is, as we get a lot of years on this Daytona surface, what's that going to do to the racing? Well, I think we might have started to see the glimmers of that tonight. And if it's anything like tonight, it's going to look really, really good. I'm really optimistic. And, I saw people mentioning, take some drag out of these cars and, maybe turn them more into like an Xfinity style, which I think would be great. But, let's just see. Well, I know there's obviously going to be massive, well, not obviously, but let's hope there's going to be some changes to the car in the offseason that, can throw a curveball at some of these teams. But, one of those being maybe getting some drag out of the car. And I think that would do the super speedway racing a lot of good. But we'll see. They got to do something, but I think it would be really interesting. I'm not advocating for no changes, but I wonder what this would look like, a year from now in this same race. Is the tire wear going to look the same? I mean, we'll have to see, but, I'm pretty confident NASCAR is going to take some swings at this car and make some changes because there's no way you can let some of the stuff go on. And, a lot of people, especially with this race, with the fuel saving aspect, which everybody's been, complaining about the fuel saving at short tracks and every track, if you will, but you're never going to get rid of that at the super speedways. And people don't realize, and I'm not a cup driver, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything, but driving at 185 miles an hour in a pack 4 wide is, newsflash, that's not easy. And I know they try to brainwash you guys with this on the broadcast, and I know, and everybody on Twitter hates it because everybody on Twitter hates everything. But I just think people don't actually understand how difficult that is. And, what's the difference between them running balls to the wall, full gas pedal down? I mean, and I think the Talladega thing's a whole nother separate conversation, but what's the intensity level and the, difficulty level getting increased by 10 miles an hour? So it's I don't know. I think that the fuel saving thing gets really overblown. And I think people just kind of underestimate how difficult it is to maintain control of your car as you're, racing 4 wide. I mean, none of us who are watching this video, unless a cup driver watched this video, have raced 4 wide going 185 miles an hour. I mean, you hear them over the radio say how difficult it is. So I think people make a lot more out of the fuel saving thing than it really is. I think 185 miles an hour looks pretty damn close to 195. Give me a break. Let me take a sip. All right. So stage 2 was really interesting at the end because that's when you really started to see this whole tire wear thing come into play. And you hear Chase Elliott come over the radio and say something about it. And he was mentioning we're the tires are becoming a big factor here, which is great. But that really caused some chaos at the end of stage 2. Then you end up with Ross Chastain winning the stage, which, by the way, I've got to go look at that Ross Chastain car. That car looked kind of cool. I don't know exactly what sponsor that was. don't have that in front of me. But yeah. So, and then we get into stage three. I missed the beginning of stage three because I was leaving work and driving home, but I was listening on the radio, so I didn't really catch anything. Didn't seem like there was anything too big. I know there was that caution for Hamlin, but Hamlin had damage from earlier in the race, so I don't know what happened exactly there. So then you pretty much end up with, I believe it was Jones, Preece, Busher, who else at the front? Logano. That was kind of the crew that you were rolling with at the front of that field as the laps start winding down as this race was in the closing stage here, and then you end up with Joey Logano wrecking from the lead. I think it was Jones behind him, but if I'm remembering correctly, he came over the radio and said he never touched him. So I don't know exactly what happened there. And also, I saw people saying that they thought Logano intentionally kind of brought out the caution. I don't know. It's not my. I mean, the car got stuck there on that lip between the apron and the infield grass there. So I don't know. People hate Joey Logano. Is that news? No, it's not. But anyway, yeah, I thought Logano had a great shot to win this race. He was controlling it for much of the end of that final stage. Obviously gets wrecked, and then that's when we get that restart, and then all hell just completely breaks loose. I'm thinking back. Remember that time, and I saw what's his name, Jones, complaining about this on pit road after the race, about Larson, pushing him too hard and whatever. And I'm like, look, I get it, but at the end of the day, with the Bowman situation, with Bowman wrecking out early, I didn't even touch on that. Bowman, and we'll get to that in a sec, but Jones was complaining about that Larson push, and I'm like, dude, Larson's got to do what he's got to do. Like, what? This is the end of the super speedway race. What do you expect not to get pushed? And I get there's aggressive pushes and there's too aggressive pushes, and I don't know, but I don't know. Throw a better block. I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah. But anyways, let's get back to that. What I was saying, though, is, which I forgot to mention, was that Bowman and Reddick both wrecked out early. Well, I don't think Bowman or Reddick didn't wreck out, if I'm remembering correctly. Bowman did, which I believe clinched Reddick's postseason spot, which good for him. But then with the whole Alex Bowman thing, that's why when this thing came to the end, it had to be a person a driver who had won this season needed to win. So that was like a blood pumping for Bowman there, those final few laps, having, Haley, Suarez, and Jones and Busher all up in that mix. Like, Bowman got really lucky to make the playoffs. And don't get me wrong, Bowman's been one of the most consistent cars in Cup overall the last 26 races this season. But, man, that must have been stressful. I saw the Bowman told Bob Pockris that he owes Blaney 7 million beers for that. And I saw Blaney agreed with that. So, yeah. But yeah, that was and I also saw Larson talking on pit road, addressing the Jones thing, but he's like, yeah, that's just whatever. It's super speedway racing. But as far as, he was scouting out while in those final few laps as he's in the front of the field. All right, well, who around me has a win, who doesn't, and well, obviously he needs to go, if he's in the front, especially with Chase Elliott right behind him, go win that race and get your teammate in the playoffs. But he said on pit road that he was scouting out, like, okay, I got Haley here, I got Preece, Busher, and all them. So it's like, they got that in the back of their head. They know what they know what the situation is in those very intense few laps. So it's pretty cool that that there's that much thinking going on when people are just like, oh, it's just cars going in circles. And it's like, no, every single driver and every single team's got their own agenda that they're trying to accomplish. And everybody's agendas rival each other. And that's what makes it such a spectacle once you understand everything that's going on. And it just goes through one ear and out the other of these people who don't watch the sport. That's the beauty of this sport, is when you get moments like that, That's that's NASCAR. That is the beauty of this sport, is having all those guys on the track at once going at each other with different agendas and seeing it play out. And it was madness tonight. Um, let's just read off the top 10. We pretty much have covered most of these guys' days. If I haven't, I'll mention whatever I haven't. Blaney won. Suarez 2. Heartbreaker for Suarez. One spot short of getting in the playoffs. How about Suarez also being in the 3 wide finish at the line? And I know this wasn't a photo finish necessarily. 3 wide finish there. 4 wide finish here at Daytona. Daniel Suarez involved in both. But in this one, Blaney gets the best of him. Blaney got the worst of him at Atlanta. So I guess a little bit of revenge. Not really, but yeah. So Justin Haley coming home third. Man, what a run. Had fantastic speed. I thought there was a point he was going to do it. So that was pretty nuts. Cole Custer took the white flag in the lead. That was crazy. And I believe, think back to that Daytona 500, he was on a hard charge to the front there on that outside lane, just like this. So kind of wild there. We already mentioned Jones. We already mentioned Larson. Buescher, heartbreaker for Buescher. Man, he was so close. But is what it is. That's why you got to compete every single week so you don't end up in situations like that. But no RFK car gets in. That's pretty wild. But yeah, tough for Buescher and RFK. Ty Gibbs, solid run. Obviously he doesn't make the playoffs, which sucks for him, but is what is. I don't think that was a playoff worthy car, if you will, but had a chance there to go win it. I think it's just good to see Ty Gibbs getting more, solid runs under him, and we've been mentioning it over this season, but it just continues tonight. So Josh Berry, that's another guy. I actually wrote for the Racing Experts, the site I write for. I wrote a Josh Berry playoff preview earlier today. If I'll actually go check that out, I'll link it below. And I actually also wrote a Blaney playoff preview today, which a lot of that's probably meaningless now. So, not meaningless, but a lot of the stats probably need to be changed in that. But Josh Berry, great run. One of those guys who maybe was never a car I thought could win, like one of the few tonight, but still was able to come home in top 10, so good for him. And then Chase Elliott comes home 10th. That's just Chase Elliott. Top 10s. That's top 10 master. That is who Chase Elliott is. For a point there, when it ended up being Larson and him lined up on that top line, before that third line materialized, I thought there was a chance Elliott maybe pushes Larson, and then maybe it's between them two for the win. So that's another way this race could have played out. So crazy night. Let's just go over the playoff. That's the other aspect of this, because Blaney winning puts him second in the regular season points total as at the end of the regular season, which is a lot more playoff points for finishing there. So that's big for Blaney. And then getting the playoff points for the win. That's huge. So Blaney, I don't know exactly where. I think he only jumped Bell and SVG, but that's big. That's huge actually for Blaney. So let's go with the playoff points. I'm only going to read off the guys with double-digit playoff points, and I think everybody that enters the playoffs is in danger. I don't think that just because having the double-digit points gap, that's not the gap you think it is, but it's a seismic gap, or it's a gap. But if you DNF in Darlington, that gap's gone. That's just the reality of it. Larson plus 26, Byron plus 26. So they start tied at 26. Hamlin plus 23, Blaney plus 20, Bell plus 17, and SVG plus 16. That's your top 6 on playoff points heading into Darlington next week for the first race of the playoffs, the Cookout Southern. Is it the Cookout Southern 500? It's the Southern 500. I could care less what that race is called. The race has damn good aura, just like the race tonight. It's going to be fantastic. Under the sunset, going from day to night, just like tonight. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be awesome. And then lastly, before I actually get out of here, my mom, she was in Atlanta, or not Atlanta, she was in Alabama. Look at what the giveaway was at the work conference she went to. A Jesse Love Xfinity Series diecast. So, and I don't know how much this costs, but look at that. Look at that. How cool. You know, Jesse Love, I'm forgetting who even won last night in Xfinity. Oh, what am I saying? It was Parker Kligerman in Zilich's car. But pretty cool stuff. So, all right. Well, how long are we? 22 minutes into this video? Yeah. So, well, it's 12:38 a.m. here in Arizona, and I'm gonna post this video and go to bed. So, wild night at Daytona, crazy, crazy race. I saw even arguments saying that this was the best super speedway race of the next gen era, and well, I guess if you're counting the Atlanta, that would change things. But if we're talking the traditional Daytona, Talladega drafting tracks, it probably was, honestly. I don't think there's any Talladega races that would have beaten that. And certainly I don't think any Daytona races, for at least for the simple fact that a lot of those Daytona races just never get to the checkered flag. They end under caution. So that's great to see a race under caution, especially a four-wide finish like that. So great, 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 great stuff in Daytona. I can't even speak now. Great stuff in Daytona this evening. Cannot wait for Darlington next week. It's going to be badass. Tune in. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and look forward for my coverage heading into Darlington next weekend. Thank y'all, and God bless.